6-week training program. Introduction to my client 1. For this 6-week training program, I will be applying it to a client who is a 38-year-old female who is a highly powerful businesswoman. She has a husband and 2 children, whom are between the ages of 4 and 1. My client is a bouncy woman who played netball in her youth and wants to get back into exercising regularly. Therefore, my client has asked me to help her achieve her long-term and short-term goals, which are, for long-term, to become mentally and physically stronger, and as a short-term, to reduce her stress levels. The part key for my client is the fact that her name is Susan, Sue. Date of birth is 15th of March 1975. Her weight is 65 kilograms and her height is 5'5". She doesn't have any hereditary illnesses, and her goals are, I have said before. Her physical activity is very little. She walks from and to work. The only time of day she exercises to and from work. As a childhood, she used to play netball, but doesn't play any sport now. Her main motivation is by the benefits she would like to see afterwards. So the thought of her being less stressed and physically and mentally fitter gives her motivation. The motivation will also come from her stress levels decreasing throughout the programme. What type of exercise does she like? She likes running. She doesn't like running because she finds it too repetitive and boring. She doesn't really know what she does like, but is happy to try other things. She doesn't really exercise socially. She walks to the train station, gets trained, and walks from the train station to work on the way to work. She doesn't really do exercise throughout the week, so therefore her hours are very small, considering the fact that she doesn't really actually do any exercise. Her hobbies are basically just her family, because it takes up so much time, so does her work. And she has family commitments because of her children. Her nutrition isn't the best because her balanced diet isn't really very balanced. However, she does know what it means because it is eating the right amount of foods or portions out of each section. For example, the Eat Well plate. She doesn't eat her 5 a day, but she does try. She doesn't have any diets She's not on any diets currently. She eats a lot of fast food because she doesn't have time to make her own lunches or anything like that. She doesn't have any dietary requirements. She'll work a typical 9 till 5, plus works after hours because of how much work she does, which increases her stress levels. She doesn't drink a lot of water, which could cause a few problems, and she could therefore become dehydrated and have a constant headache. She spends roughly £35 a week on food. How many calories recommend? She eats a lot of calories because of the amount of fast food she has. Portion sizes are set to the meals that are given to her by the fast food restaurants. However, she'll only pick at her meals throughout the day and won't have any snacks. She'll just continuously be eating the same food because she keeps on working and doesn't stop. My client only smokes at work and finds it stress relieving, which is why she does it. She only does it with her workmates. She doesn't do it as much as she used to. And she won't do it at home. And she'll normally have about 4 cigarettes a day. Her stress levels are quite high. As you can see, it's 8 to 9. High powered. So her stress levels come mainly from her job, because of how stressed she is and how much work she's got, purely because of the fact of her time pressures. Everything's got to be done at a certain time. She doesn't really deal with the stress. She feels as though her dealing with stress is normally by smoking or by maybe a little bit of alcohol, like as if you got back from work and had a glass of red wine or any alcoholic drink after she got back to relieve the stress. She works quite late and gets up in the morning to get the train, so therefore her sleep pattern isn't very good and is quite limited, but she hasn't got any illnesses. Her alcohol consumption is after work normally or on a weekend. It's every day, which is quite frequent, and normally a typical glass of wine. This is because it relieves her stress mentally. In my opinion, I don't think it actually does. I think it's just a psychological fact that she feels as though it relieves the stress. In the weekday, she'll normally have a glass of red wine with her husband. However, she might go out on the weekend with her friends and have a few drinks. The maximum she'll have is about 2 glasses of wine a night in the weekday. However, she may have more on the weekend. If she went out, it would normally be to a local pub. My client's goals. Short-term goal. My client's short-term goal is to be more relaxed because they are beginning to feel too stressed due to their working hours and how hard they work. They would like to be able to feel happy about spending time with their family instead of worrying about work. Their long-term goal. My client would like to become more mentally and more physically fitter because they feel as though it will be the answer to a few of their problems, e.g. becoming fitter, sleeping patterns, energy levels, positive mindset. Physical exercise will have a positive effect on these questions because exercising regularly will help my client to feel tired later on in the day, allowing her to get a good amount of sleep. On the other hand, it will also give my client a lot more energy during the day because it won't be so hard to do the simple jobs. If my client is feeling better in themselves, then their mindset will become more positive as well because they will see a positive difference in their lifestyle. Week 1. After looking at my client's questionnaire, I can see that my client enjoys spending time with their family, but works late very often, meaning that the little time they get at home is precious. With this in mind, I've devised a 6-week plan to get my client in a fit mental and physical state. The first week involves a lot of physical activities, such as baby weightlifting, yoga with the kids, TV interval training, and even a 15-minute jog. On day 1, I would like my client to do a 15-minute moderate intensity jog during her lunch break to help her clear her head before starting work again. This is because my client expressed real pressure at work and talked about how she didn't really have breaks at work because she works through them. During my client's jog, I would like her to record her distance within 15 minutes. This will help improve her cardio a little bit, getting it used to physical activity again. In the afternoon, after work, I would like Susan to spend the time that she has with her family, and it may be watching TV, to do this wisely, which is why I have set up a routine for the whole family to join in on during the adverts. When an advert break comes on the TV, I would like the family to do 15 Russian twists. However, if my client is finding it too easy, then to make it harder, she could use her baby as a weight. After the Russian twists, I've asked my client to do 10 squat jumps. Another addition to the routine is 15 sit-ups, using the children as weights at the feet of either parent. The second to last activity is 5 burpees. However, as the last activity, I have asked my client to do 10 press-ups. I have chosen this routine because it works a lot of the muscle groups. For example, Russian twists are working out the core, squat jumps are working out the quadriceps, sit-ups are working out the core, burpees are working out the full body workout, and press-ups are working the upper arms. Day 2. As a rest day for my client, however, I have asked my client to join a yoga class which meets later on at night, after the kids are asleep. I have chosen this activity because I feel as though my client it may help my client to relax later in the evenings, ensuring that they are able to get to sleep better. Yoga has been shown to improve people's mental health as well, clearing their minds, helping them to relax and feel better. On day 3, I've chosen for my client to continue her moderate intensity jog. However, my client has to beat her previous distance covered, and if this is not successful, my client is to do 5 burpees. When my client gets home from work, I would like my client to make the dinner. However, before eating, they are to take the family out on a walk, whether it is on the beach or up the downs or even around the village. This should last roughly 15 minutes. However, on arrival at home, my client is to run 2 laps of her road before sitting down to eat. The activities for today were based on cardio movement because that is where my client implied they struggled most. It also gives my client time to be alone and clear their head after a long day at work. Another advantage of lots of cardio in the day is that it will help the body and mind to fall asleep easier at night because it is exhausted. My client told me that on a Thursday they drop their kids off at school before they go to work before they go to work. So for day 4, I have planned for my client to run from dropping her kids off to school to the station, from the station to work, which will have fulfilled my client's daily 15-minute jog. After work, I would like my client to run back to the station, then from the station to home. After dinner, I would like my client to do another set of TV interval trainings, this time with different activities. Activity 1. I would like my client to do 8 squats, but with a child on her back to increase the load, gaining muscle. The next activity for my client to do is to do a plank for 2 whole adverts, for example, a McDonald's advert and a Toys R Us advert. In addition to this routine, I have added a stair relay, which is where my client will have a child on her back whilst climbing the stairs up and down, going up and down the stairs is counting as 1. And my client will do this 3 times. I chose these activities because they all work on muscular endurance, because the squats and the stair relay showed muscular endurance in the quadriceps, and a little bit of cardio during the stair relay. The plank, on the other hand, showed muscular endurance on the core. Day 5 is a rest day where my client isn't set any physical activity. However, they may do so if they wish. A rest day is good when training because if the muscles are worked too hard, then it can have a negative effect on them. Day 6 includes a morning run for roughly 3 miles whilst trying to stay under 40 minutes. In the afternoon, I have asked my client to attend a snap core session that is put on by her local gym from 12 p.m. to 12:30 p.m. This is a good way for my client to get to know other people who are in similar situations and allows her to find out different ways they exercise and different sessions they attend. Day 7. I have set for my client a yoga session which she can do with her whole family in the morning. Following that, just after lunch, I have suggested that her family go out along the beach. However, her children should bike along the seafront, where my client would run. The yoga session is there to reduce stress, which is linked to my client's long-term goal. Short-term goal. Whereas the run is to do with my client's cardio, ensuring that it is constantly being worked to increase their running ability. I have also asked my client to keep a diary of her exercise and her food and consumption so that we can see if she is struggling where she is struggling or succeeding, so that I can make the activities harder or easier. With this said, I will also ask my client to weigh herself and write it down so that her and I can see her progress.